6 months after my wife gave birth to our son, my best friend Adam pulled me aside after dinner and said quietly, "We need to talk, it's urgent." I can still hear the way he said it. Calm but shaking underneath. Like he was trying to keep a secret from exploding out of him. We just finished watching a game in my living room. Beers half empty, my wife upstairs putting our son to sleep. Everything had seemed so normal. I remember laughing when he said it. "What's up, man? You look like someone died." He didn't laugh back. "Can we talk outside?" he said. It was early spring, and the night air had that crisp, clean scent after rain. We stood by my car in the driveway. The streetlight flickered above us. Adam shoved his hands into his jacket pockets, stared at the ground and said, "I've been carrying this for months and I can't anymore. I think you deserve to know." My stomach tightened. "Know what?" He looked up and for a second I saw tears in his eyes. "I think your wife's been lying to you, man. The baby, he might not be yours." My first reaction was to laugh again, to reject it outright. "That's not funny." "I'm not joking, Ben." The world around me seemed to narrow. The sound of distant traffic faded, replaced by the rush of blood in my ears. He told me he hadn't meant to find out. That a few weeks before our wedding anniversary, he'd been at a bar with coworkers. One of them happened to be a nurse who'd worked at the clinic where my wife had gone for prenatal checkups. She'd mentioned offhand something about a married woman seeing two men during her pregnancy, and that there was confusion about the baby's paternity. Adam said he brushed it off until the nurse mentioned her name. My wife's name. Even hearing it now makes my chest ache. I remember standing there, frozen, the cold biting my fingers, trying to make sense of words that couldn't possibly be real. "You're saying she cheated? While she was pregnant?" Adam nodded slowly. I didn't want to believe it either. But I've seen things too. Messages. Late-night calls she made when you were at work. I didn't want to get involved, but I cut him off. "Messages? What do you mean?" He hesitated. "A few months ago she texted me by mistake. It was meant for someone else. I didn't say anything at the time. I didn't want to break you." The cold suddenly felt unbearable. I couldn't breathe. I told him to leave. When I went back inside, the house felt different. Quieter. Colder. My wife was sitting on the couch, hair still damp from her shower, our baby asleep in her arms. She looked up and smiled. That smile broke me. I didn't say a word that night. I just sat there pretending everything was fine. But my eyes kept drifting to our son's face, and for the first time I noticed what I'd never dared to before. The color of his eyes. They weren't like mine. Or hers. They were green. Adam's were green. That night I barely slept. Every sound from the baby monitor felt like a knife twisting in my chest. By dawn I'd made up my mind. I took a sample from the baby's bottle, a strand of his hair, and sent it for a DNA test. I didn't tell her. I didn't tell anyone. The 2 weeks waiting for the results were the longest of my life. My wife carried on as usual, making breakfast, humming lullabies, sending me texts that ended with hearts and "miss you." Every gesture felt rehearsed, every word like a line from a play. When the email finally came, I opened it in the car outside my office. My hands shook so hard I almost dropped my phone. Probability of paternity 0%. I stared at the screen until my vision blurred. The world tilted. I sat there for an hour, maybe more, just breathing, crying, cursing, laughing bitterly at my own stupidity. When I finally went home, she was feeding the baby. She looked up and smiled again, that same sweet, guilty smile. "I got the results," I said quietly. Her face went pale. "What results?" I took a deep breath. "DNA test." The bottle slipped from her hand. The baby started crying. She didn't pick him up right away. Her lips trembled. "Ben, I can explain." But I didn't want explanations. I'd spent months building a home on lies, loving a child that wasn't mine, defending her when people whispered she was distant, detached, distracted. She broke down sobbing, told me it had been a mistake, that she'd been lonely while I was working nights, that the man meant nothing, that she didn't even know for sure who the father was until the baby was born. Her voice kept shaking. Mine didn't. "I was going to tell you," she whispered. "But when I saw how much you loved him, I couldn't." For the first time I understood what betrayal really feels like, not rage, not fire, but emptiness. A hollow ache that spreads until it fills everything. I didn't shout. I didn't throw anything. I just packed a bag. She begged me to stay, to talk, to think of the baby. I looked at the crib and said quietly, "He's not my son." Then I walked out. For weeks afterward, I lived at a friend's place, not Adam's. I couldn't face him either. Every text from her went unanswered. Every photo she sent of the baby tore me apart. And then one afternoon, Adam showed up at my door again. He handed me an envelope. Inside was a paternity test, his test. He'd done it too. The result? 0%. The baby wasn't his either. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. The truth was worse than either of us had imagined. She'd been seeing someone else entirely. A man neither of us knew. Adam looked at me, his face hollow. "I thought I was the one who betrayed you. Turns out she betrayed us both." That night we sat in silence, two broken men nursing the same wound. I divorced her quietly. No drama. No courtroom spectacle. Just paperwork and signatures and a child whose eyes I couldn't look into anymore. 6 months later, I moved to a new city. New job, new apartment, no photos on the walls. Sometimes I still dream about that night. Adam's voice, the sound of the rain, my wife's pale face when I said the words. But mostly I dream about peace, the kind that comes when there's nothing left to lose.